Right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good afternoon. This is our second class lah untuk entrepreneurial leadership. Maybe this is how we can connect ourselves lah due to what we call it work commitment and all that. But never mind, we try to manage it. So today I would like to talk about strategic thinking in entrepreneurial leadership. Okay, so basically, when we think about leadership, it's all about making some decisions, taking risks, calculated risk perhaps, and also foresee what is going to happen in the future. Yang ni lah yang leadership, what we call it. Having said that, I think in the essence of entrepreneurial leadership, we must also consider someone that able to proceed with sort of strategic thinking. So the main argument of strategic thinking is basically leaders are similar to great athletes, right? Must simultaneously play the game and observe it as a whole. So we need to know, as a leader, we need to know the details and also the macro side of what happening, and what we call it inside out lah. So this inside out concept give an opportunity to the leader to have an idea about what we call it mechanism of operation and also direction of the organization. This is very important. So keep perspective and see the big picture, not get lost in the action. Okay, so this is an important insight where we need to have details um, knowledge about something, but not that too details. But at the same time, thinking about the bigger things that could happen around us. Okay, so this is very important insight as well. Okay, and strategic thinking is all about vision and sense of the future. Some people would argue that this sense of future, nonetheless, is based on the gut feeling or prediction of that particular person. Jadi kalau kita tengok, tak ada pun, mungkin tak ada sangat yang boleh memberi justifikasi what's happening in the future. However, they might tell us or they might share their vision by thinking of, this is where things happen. I have a feeling. Okay. So, sense of future is the main argument of a strategic thinking. And also, sense of future, some people argue that you need to have a clear parameter what are futures. What are future? What are their characteristics of the future? And I believe that leaders also need to have this kind of insight. Yeah. leadership challenge. The leadership challenge. All enterprise or project, big or small, begin in the mind eyes. They begin with imagination, with the belief that what is merely can imagine one day be made real. This is very philosophical lah. Philosophical in the sense of whatever we have, it is about mind, cognitive, and also our observation of the future. Uh, they put here, they begin with imagination. Why imagination? Because imagination is the maximum that we could do. You know, nobody's will deter us from having our own imagination. That is the thing. Secondly, imagination is part of futuristic thinking. However, some people might argue you need some sort of framework or theorem in order to do some what we call it substantiate imagination. The belief in what merely an image can one day be made real. Some people say that whatever we think in the future and it happens, it is deja vu. So I guess leadership also have their own its own deja vu. When we think about strategic thinking, definitely it involves some sort of cognitive ability. Strategic thinking requires a mindset, a way of thinking, or intellectual processes that first accept change. It's very important. Second, analyze the cause and outcome of the change. Third, attempts to direct an organization future to capitalize the changes. Okay, accept change is where you anticipate the dynamism of whatever happened around us and internally in the organizations. Okay, the the dynamism of certain organization is much more dependent on which sector they are in. For example, retail organization, retail business, uh, or in particular, who the producer that can be considered as FMCGs company, fast-moving consumer companies. The turnover of products, or even design, or even staff, is very high. Okay, so that's the first thing. Accept change as it is. So that means we are often associated ourselves with a dynamism or dynamic concept. Okay. Second is to analyze the cause and outcome of the change. This is what we call, when we have this kind of mindset, we are basically dealing with risk management. Risk management. Okay. So risk management, where you see the causality of things happening in the future. For example, if you are if you invest certain amount of money, this is the outcome that you can get for your advertising, for example, or for your if you invest for I beg your pardon, if you invest in advertisement, you expect this kind of return increase in sales, or even increase in the market value, market share. Thirdly is to attempt to direct an organization future to capitalize the changes. This is where the mindset or even the thinking of that changes the company or the organization try to, what we call it, create value out of that perspective. Okay, I just want to quote an example. Some organizations, they are very futuristic via research and development that they are been doing. Some of them are able to capitalize it, especially in introduction of new or improved products, okay, or services for that matter. However, some company or organization keep on doing research without being able to uh, produce end product or end services to their customer. And at the end of the day, that company becomes, uh, not so worthy in terms of new investment, but rather than they are only able to do some sort of invention rather than commercialization. Okay. So in this strategic thinking, we also need to have the concept, need to embrace the concept of opportunistic. Do what you can with what you have where you are. Okay. Some sort like a satisfactory level or satisfactory condition of this thinking. However, if you turn this understanding into some sort of opportunistic view, that means you try to capitalize or try to conduct any activities with the existing resources that you have. Because some condition is very much dependent on the condition of a certain area or certain people. Okay, for example, um, you know, if we are involved in uh, uh, decision making process, so we tend to have sort of a hindrance factor before we taking that um, decision. What we call it counterproductive or pessimist. This is where the challenge of turning the thinking of certain people, including the leaders, from being an less opportunistic to more opportunities. Okay. So strategic thinking, the essence of it is acknowledge the reality of change, question current assumption and activities. Okay. What it means by here is in our life or even in organization that being managed by someone or somebody, they have their own assumptions of of having quote unquote bad relationship with your or with your people, or if we have that kind of assumption, it may lead to what we call it uh, understatement of our achievement. Okay. The third things that need to be carried out or need to be done in strategic thinking is building on some on an understanding of a system. Okay. This is a very sometimes the group that we introduced before is basically refer to someone that is having a good understanding of the context of the study. Okay. Um, Understanding system, including the current rules and regulation. Okay, current rules and regulation is part of it, and followed by ambition possible futures. This is another important insight. Okay, another important insight. For this one to be carried out, you need to have a lot of information. I mean, leaders need to have a lot of information for them to envision possible futures. Okay, not necessarily that person are right. Okay, the good are right and all that. However, at least they proceed with something that is more more moving towards the future. For example, if we think about the industrial revolution concept, at the moment we are embracing the IR 4.0, industrial revolution 4.0. However, people have start talking about industrial revolution 5.0. Okay, so this is where you need to generate new ideas in order to fulfill the demand of your market. Thirdly, and last is to consider the organizational fit with the external environment. Okay, this is include the shape or the structure, uh, the structure um, of the organization or the form of the organization. Okay, if we may discuss a bit of uh, a different idea or different understanding, we see the employment or the recruitment. I beg your pardon. Recruitment process is kind of different between one country to another. Okay, this is very you know a big change or a big challenge to the person who just joined the society. Besides strategic thinking, under strategic leadership, we can see the importance of translational thinking. Okay, translational thinking. This is based on the argument that entrepreneurship is a pursuit of opportunity without regard or without considering resources that we have. Okay, it is possible, quote unquote, a one-man show argument. Okay, however, this pursuit for opportunity without regard resources sometimes uh, can be rebutted or can be argued. Why I'm saying this? Because there are some sort of equilibrium or equation, I beg your pardon, how we can see the entrepreneur can uh, thrive the future by having resources, team, and also opportunity. Okay. Bismarck defined statesmanship as the art of possible. Okay. T.S. Eliot, Between the Idea and the Act of Life. This is the title of some sort of movie. Crossing the Chasm book, Geoffrey Moore, Wayne Gretzky, skate where the puck is not now where it has been. Okay. Under this strategic thinking, we need to have also understanding about how future will move on. Okay. Strategic thinking assess the changing the needs of the organization stakeholder and changing technological, social, demographic, legislative, political, and competitive demand of its world. Okay, this is where you have a good view of what are the futures based on the circumstances. Okay, if we think again about the circumstances, at the moment, people will vote the major contributor, major contributor to change would be, I don't know, it might be technology. eh, Technology. So that means technology will shape our future. It is partly true because some leaders will use the reason of technology advancement to change people mindset, okay, to change or to promote a new way of thinking. Okay, it's very important. Strategic thinker always questions. That's why you can see when somebody's who are in a top position or in managerial positions, they always questioning the rationale behind certain occurrences. Occurrence. That this sort of question, what are we doing now, and we should stop doing that. We should stop doing. So this is where uh, you can say that do some saving. Okay, do some saving. What we are doing now that we should stop doing. So they are checking either the skill or work process or business process that been taking place for sometimes. We need to think about it. Okay. Some people, for example, in 1970 something, 1970 something, you know, uh, um, the transaction of military equipment is so high. Some people say that that is trigger what we are not doing now and should start doing by spending a certain. Okay, so this is the opportunity to see people to being able to get out, you know, and start to have a normal life. What we are not doing now but should start doing. This is where what we call it competency gap in the company. These questions are applicable everything the organization does. Someone if in the organization they will see this importance. Product and services, internal processes, policies and procedures, and strategy. Let's look at product and services. Moving to the future, we might thinking whether the product or services of that, of that produce or company and all that is something that is very important. Okay, product and services is mean of exchange value between customer and the company. internal process, and other important things that influence the efficiency of the organization. Okay? Policies and procedure, and also strategies. This is why I put policies and procedures, because they are less dynamic compared to product services and also internal processes. We are much more dependent on the, you know, the those who in power, pihak berkuasa tempatan atau pihak berkuasa, in order to make sure that the dynamism is there. If we have strategies, it's all about the strategic movement of something in order to achieve a better position. So penetrating the future is part of strategic thinking, where, as I mentioned before, we are thinking about what is going to happen in the future. So under that circumstances, we are actually examining assumptions. We are checking assumptions. We try to understand system and their interrelationship, causality that I mentioned, and develop alternative scenarios for the future. So you are not dependent on one option only to thrive through this, this exercise. Okay, and develop alternative scenario for the future. Okay, forecasting is the external technological. This is what we call a gut feeling, and critical changes in the legislation and political arena. Okay, some sort of things that you are unable to control, then you can lump it together. So strategic thinking versus subject matter expert. Okay, some people would like to use, uh, you know, uh, subject matter expert, because it's quite clear that the role of a subject matter expert is to give advisory to relevant. Strategic thinking is very much a leadership activity and quite different from what subject matter do. Strategic thinkers specialize in relationship and context, whereas expert thinkers specialize in well-defined discipline and function. Okay, so strategic thinker is more, I would say, more generalized than, uh, you know, that is what we call it. Okay, a strategic thinker act as intuition and gut feel when data is incomplete. This is what we call it a theorem. Means to have a theorem. And complete on action and moving forward, there are expert or rigorous attention to knowledge, evidence, and data. Management of strategy. Strategic thinking is supported by the continuous management of the strategy and documented through the period process of strategic planning. Feedback measurement is very critical in the management strategy. Okay, so this is where you can see on the right side, we are discussing about balanced scorecard. I think most of us here is quite familiar with with balanced scorecard. Okay. Okay, that's all I think for the first part of this one of strategic thinking. Is quite conceptual, I guess. Okay. Okay, thank you. Fine. See you.